this week is City Government Week, and today we're talking with Jess Savidge, well, Jess, what is your role other than Census Star? Because for most of us, we know you as the Census Lady, but you've got a much more important role than that.
It's a very diverse role. For a while, it was just contact Jess, and I didn't really have a name or a house department, or I kind of did special projects, and that special projects type of task that I do morphed into what the city has labeled Strategic Improvement Project Manager. Big long title, meaning that I still do special projects like the census, and externally, the next one of our big projects will probably end up being developing the Lake Worth Beach Academy. We have some other, outward facing community engagement projects, and internally, in addition to the special projects, we try to implement process improvements and performance measurements, and most importantly, the strategic plan. And so last year, we did the strategic plan for the first time in probably a long, long time. So it was adopted in the summer of 2019, and it was going to be FY20 through FY25. And it incorporated 5 pillars. And it is an action plan to get us to where we want to be in 5 years. And it helps us. So last year we implemented the strategic plan, and we will continue to do it. So we are deploying it and teaching people about the mission, the vision, the values, and then the 5 pillars. And one of the things is, because it's so new, we are kind of teaching people to label what they already were doing and align it with the strategic plan. And I'll use an example of this. So you and I we're working remotely and during COVID, and we have a pillar that is the 5th pillar, and it's affirming government for all. And so our actions, we're here to work. We're here to serve our public, the businesses, the residents. We're trying to make life better for everybody that's associated with Lake Worth Beach. And just because COVID sent us home and we had to adapt, we're still working really hard to make sure that all the services are delivered, that business is not interrupted. And so we had to make some quick adaptions and get everybody home and still working, because people still needed permits. We still had we still had the finance department that needed to process all of our different payments, and our commission meetings. I mean, think about what was done where we do online commission meetings, where we've created not only the viewing, but we actually have that interaction where people have the opportunity to speak. And so that right there, affirming, it's something that we do and we never put a label on it. So now if everybody says, oh my God, I just realized I'm doing something. So that's the strategic plan label. And so now we'll just try to make sure that it's a reminder of the stuff we're doing, and maybe set goals and action plans for the things that maybe are harder to reach and bigger to do. And there's just lots of different examples. Like last week we did the partnership for Wi-Fi to the public schools. And so believe it or not, the commission thought ahead, and they knew that putting the schools in their strategic plan was a really important part about our neighborhood pillar. And so by strengthening the schools, it enforces and reinforces the amazing neighborhoods that we have. And so that inclusion is another one of those things that we knew it was there, and we're going to continue to strive to get it going. So that's kind of non-census, which has been a long time. Census for us was a lot of behind the scenes stuff. It started, gosh, Ben, it started back in January of 2018. And that was when we started doing all the research about LUCA, which is the address verification. And so back then, we had our GIS department scrub all of our addresses and make sure that we submitted every single potential residential address that people might live in. And we increased it to about 19,000 addresses within the city of Lake Worth Beach. So that's the potential. So in the census, when they keep measuring the percentage of self-response, and so like right now we're at 54%, that's about 12,000 addresses that have responded. So that kind of gives people an idea. We don't know how many people live in those houses, but we know that those addresses have participated in the census as a self-responder. But yeah, and then we rolled in from submitting the addresses of potential residents that the census would count people in to forming a complete count committee and the commission doing resolutions to enact the complete count committee. And the complete count committee represents and mirrors what this city is about. So it truly incorporates our education leaders, our religious leaders, our neighborhood association leaders, our community partners and nonprofits that deliver services, and our businesses. And so it is a robust committee of maybe 100 participants. It's an incredible myriad of leaders and trusted voices that really helped getting us the message into the community. And so the past year, because August, the end of the August, like the 20 something, when Dorian was coming, that was our kickoff. And so we have been doing, but yeah, I mean, so everybody's scurrying around getting ready for Dorian, and I felt like the old thing, keep calm, carry on. Let's keep having census, you know, like everybody is doing, you know, there's a Cat 5 coming towards us. But what was awesome about that was people came and the energy was amazing. And in that room, we could turn the fact that we needed to get important messages out into the community because we had all those leaders in the room. It's incredible. I don't know if you remember that, but you remember we made sure that in-language messaging went out to everybody. And I think that's like a great example of what the census project ended up doing. It truly brought everybody together on, you know, one same objective. Everybody wanted to count people. You know, if you were human, you needed to be counted. And so people weren't angry that people got more or less than somebody else, or they were a different party. It was just count the people, go find the people and have them respond. So, and then for the past year, we've been, as you know, I mean, we've been talking census all the time. So,
of course, today, when we're doing this interview, today is actually the last day of the census. So we're doing this interview on October 15th, the Thursday before Government Week, and well, it's only a couple of hours left. What is it, midnight in Hawaii, and that's it. It's all over. 2-3 years of work, but
and it's really sad. I mean, and that's the sad part about, you know, I mean, I feel like if this was archived, 2020, it's kind of sad now that I say this out loud. It's like 2020 year has been unlike anything ever, but the census is no different. I mean, think about it. It's like they kept moving. It was like in and out, like the deadline is, you know, September 30th. Now it's October 31st. Now it's September 30th. Now it's October 5th. Surprise, it's tomorrow. And that's what we just got the notice like a couple of days ago. And which is really sad because at the city, we had so many events to do, and it's sad. Well, but hopefully we got out, even though the self-response rate today was still at 54.3. I hope our education was powerful enough that when there were enumerators that went into the community to door knock, that the proxies could help them, tell them how many people lived in the home, and then when the people opened the door, they would truthfully tell people how many people lived there, because it's bodies that live there that are so important for appropriation for the money and the funding, for political representation, for redistricting, so it's just a population count. So it has been a fun journey. And on December 31st, Wilbur Ross said that he will give us the results when the president gets the results. So it's a little before I thought.
Year.
I know.
We did.
Yeah. So.
And you mentioned Hurricane Dorian. So like any city worker, you have your day job and then you have your emergency job. And these can be quite different for different people. It's all about what the city needs and also what special skill set you actually possess coming into the job. So during an emergency, what is your emergency role?
So back in Dorian, because I was probably in the heart of being in the community, at Dorian's time, I took care of the making sure that the critical care facilities were taken care of and contacted. But today I am now the planning section chief, which is funny because it's all about gathering data and information and planning and writing reports. And everybody who knows me is like, yeah, that's Jess. It's true.
I'm surprised you weren't that before, in all honesty. The perfect role.
So it's good.
And that's really important, because what that does is that means after the hurricane, when we have to report to FEMA for the huge amounts of grant money and everything that has to come through, that role makes sure that happens and happens correctly, which is very important. So now, a little bit of your background then. So what was your career path to role in public service?
So it's one of those things. I didn't dream of being a doctor. I do love that, the numbers of things, the business of things. But I have this soft spot for civic duty. And so that happened, probably back in college. I mean, now that I kind of think about it. So I majored in political science and Japanese. So I thought that it would be fun to learn Japanese. And since I could read and speak Hebrew, I thought they're symbols too. So I clearly liked a challenge, and it was amazing and eye-opening to see things that are so different than yourself. And, Occident and Orient are so different. And so it gave me kind of a worldly approach of things. So, however, to all those young children, a political science degree and a Japanese degree probably means grad school or law school. So that's exactly what I had to do. And so at the time, I really was trying to figure out what to do, but I actually have my master's in public administration. And the reason I did it was because an MPA to me is the management of government, just like an MBA is a business management. And in my opinion, government is a big business. And so if you think about it, like here in the city, we operate businesses, and we have different funds that have to generate money. If we have customers, and if we don't deliver good customer service, then we won't have customers, or we won't have happy customers. And happy customers, good cities. And so I really, so that was why I pursued my master's in public administration. And I did it in Washington, D.C., because I do think there's a little part of me that's like this political energy type of person, although I'm not a political person. But it's government, it's the national federal government. And that was very cool. I concentrated in finance. And so my original path was all finance related. So I worked for the county right outside of DC as a budget analyst. And then I moved into a little bit of a quasi public-private type of role, working for an association for housing finance agencies, which was really very interesting because it's this layer of membership of housing finance agencies that actually implement, we were just talking about that. They implement Section 8 housing and affordable housing, and different things down into the levels, but they need somebody in DC to also go to the meetings at HUD and to go to Capitol Hill. And, so it was a really exciting, almost like the white part of the Oreo. Like I really felt like, and that's the good stuff. So, we were the good, creamy Oreo where the federal government was one side and the administrators were the other. And so that was exciting. And, I continued on the finance part. I worked for Fannie Mae, and then I worked for a financial advisory firm that did bond issuances. So again, it was, I was kind of connected. And then I became a mom, and I was down here in Florida, and I had 2 kids within 2 years. And my youngest was born with a cleft lip and cleft palate. And so she had her first surgery at 12 weeks. So I needed to kind of be adaptable and change my career a little bit. And so for 12 years, I actually was a designer for California Closets because I like to problem solve and I like to put things and organize. I mean, like people who know me go, I get it now. I like to be organized and then I like to solve it, but I also like working with people. So it was a really great, and it was flexible so that, I could have young kids and do something. But after 12 years, the money was good and the people were amazing and the projects that I did was exciting, but that nagging call for civic duty came back. And it was a little like that, gosh, that's great. You're making lots of money, but what are you doing? What's your give back? How are you making things better? And closet emergencies are not the same as really making life better for people in a governmental public service way. And so I fell onto the city of Lake Worth Beach and started actually in the finance department. And so it was getting back in and this doing special projects and the performance measures and Sterling management model that we are going to try to pursue. It's a model on business excellence, and we are every day. I mean, I think that goes. One of your questions was, what do you like working, here in the city? And I think that this all comes up because every day is better than the day before, and we improve every single day, and we grow, and we have incremental positive change all the time. And so that to me is part of what's so exciting about the city is the potential. It's just it's one of those, it's almost like when people go and renovate houses, and they'll use the phrase, this house has good bones. And I feel like the city of Lake Worth Beach has incredible bones. And, it's the community, the neighborhood involvement. I mean, it's the most impassioned city, I think, in Palm Beach County.
Yeah, that's one way to describe it. But now, obviously, work isn't everything. So, out of work, what is it that you enjoy?
So, and we talked a little bit about this and the fact it's so funny because I am definitely, and with working from home and the census, and I know you work much more than we probably should, because we enjoy it, but then you have to turn the off button. And so it sounds so cliche to say I enjoy watching my kids. So my kids play lacrosse. So they give me nourishment and the kind of, it's a happiness and a pride. So it's nice to be out and doing that. When we can, I love traveling. Not LB traveling because she is so much cooler and figuring out her own trips than I am. You know, the regular stuff. And I was kind of like, do I like to do it or do I have to do it? Like exercising and yoga. And, you know, it's kind of one of those fine lines. I'm like, you kind of need it, but you enjoy it. And then I love paddleboarding. So I like to be, out. And then it made me think, I better start thinking of some new hobbies because at some point I'm going to be an empty nester and, you know, I really need to figure out.
And there's no more census. What are you going to do?
Gosh, you know, I'll have to.
You have
so
your
let's
weekends
see.
back.
So, oh my God. So 2030, I will be an empty nester. So I'm scared. So watch out, 2030.
Wow. Okay, Jess, well, I won't hold you any longer. I know today's a very sort of important day that's been rushed upon us, but thank you so much for coming to do this interview and thank you for everything you do in the city. Having worked with you, I'm always very impressed at how organized you manage to stay in a crazy, crazy world. And I know I'm probably one of the worst offenders for getting your organization off kilter, but yeah, it's wonderful having you in the city, and you're one of my favorite people to work with. So thank you so much, and
Thank you.
And yeah, we look forward to seeing the next project. What name you'll be known for next. So have a wonderful day, and we'll speak soon.
Thank you so much, Ben. Bye.
Bye.